In this video, I'll demonstrate an easy way to remove the background from an image in Photoshop, and I'll be doing this with an often overlooked tool. Here's my starting image which I downloaded from a stock library. What I want to do is cut out the lady and desk to remove the background from the photo. The way that I'll do this is using the Object Selection tool, which was released in November 2019. You'll find the tool in the Tools palette. Because it's one of three tools in a group, you may find that either the Quick Selection or the Magic Wand tool icon is visible. If you can't see the Object Selection tool, right-click on the group to display all the tools. You can then click the tools icon. Photoshop then analyzes your image, trying to detect objects in the frame. You'll know that it's doing this because the arrow icon in the toolbar spins. You can also click this icon at any time to refresh the object detection. This is something that you may want to do if you change settings like sample all layers and hard edges. When the analysis is complete, you can see the objects Photoshop's found by clicking the Show All Objects icon. You then see a dark overlay appear on the different objects. Let's turn that off now by clicking it again because there's another way. By moving your mouse over the image, you can highlight the individual objects. If I move my mouse over the laptop in the image, it turns dark because Photoshop recognized it as an object. I can then click to select the object and Photoshop converts it into a selection. You'll then see the marching ants appear to indicate that it's an active selection. In this image, Photoshop has found several objects that we want to select. But when I click on another of these, it selects that object and removes the selection from the laptop. That's because I'm using this option to create a new selection with each click. The other icons next to this are to add, subtract and intersect the selections. By using the Add option, I can click on different objects in the scene and add them to the current selection. Unfortunately, there is something missing from this tool, which is the option to display a mask or overlay rather than the selection. When you choose multiple objects, the marching ants make it difficult to see what is and isn't selected. This can make finding and fixing problems quite difficult. Shortly I'll show you what I think is a better option, but first let's try to clean up this selection. Notice this mode drop-down in the toolbar. You can use it to select either a rectangular marquee or a lasso tool to work with. So far we've been clicking on objects to select them, but we can also draw around areas using these settings. I tend to use the lasso tool because it's more flexible. Let's zoom in to 100% to look the image over for problems. If there's an area that's been missed, I can draw around it with the lasso. Photoshop then analyses the area and hopefully adds it to the selection. Sometimes it doesn't quite get it right and you just need to make another selection. It's also possible to remove areas by clicking the Subtract option icon in the toolbar. When you think you have the selection correct, it's best to check it. What I'm going to show you next is my preferred method of checking and refining the selection. Typically, I only use the Select Subject tool to make an initial selection. After that, I switch to the Select a Mask environment to refine it. I find it's better because it has a colour overlay where you can easily see what is and isn't selected. It also includes other selection tools to help you refine or make more complex selections. Looking at this image, the selection looks pretty good and it would be fine to use it for something like a YouTube thumbnail. Let's zoom in with the magnifier tool to check the edges of the selection for more detailed problems. I'll use this to show you a couple of tools that you might want to use. Let's start by cutting off the top of the cup so that it will be easier to remove later. Because the desk has a straight edge, I can use the Polygon Lasso tool. This is great for drawing a straight edge between 2 points. I'll set it to subtract from the selection in the toolbar. Then I can add my points around the top of the cup to remove it. Now I'll check around the edge of the woman and use the Refine Edge brush to clean up areas like the hair. When you're happy with the selection, choose to output it to a new layer with a layer mask. This duplicates the image layer that you're working on and adds a mask to it created from the selection. Having a new layer and mask is going to allow you to refine the selection further if you need to. Now if I hide the background layer, you can see the woman and desk with the background removed. You may find this is good enough for what you have in mind, but just in case, a good way to check the quality of the selection is by viewing the mask. Hold down the Option key or Alt key on a PC and click on the mask thumbnail in the Layers window. Because the mask is black and white, it makes it easy to spot any problems. You can then clean those up with the brush tool by painting with black or white. Often you'll find areas where the edge isn't sufficiently well defined, but if you try to paint too close to these to improve them, you can easily make a mistake. A neat trick to fix these edges is to switch the brush to painting with the overlay mode. When I paint over a white area of the mask with white, it removes any black in that area. You can also paint over black areas of the mask using black to remove any white. Because you're using the overlay mode, it doesn't really matter if you spill over because you won't affect the opposite colour that you're painting with. If you use this technique, try not to have the brush set to 100% opacity. It can make the edges look a little false. When you do run into this problem, try painting over that area of the mask with the Photoshop Blur tool. A small amount of blur applied to the edge of the mask is often enough to soften the effect. After removing the background from the image with a mask, you can try adding other backgrounds. For example, we can move this lady to a new working location like the beach. And I'll remove the pens and coffee cup from the desk as well. I hope you've enjoyed the demonstration. If you did, you might like this video where I explain some of the problems I found when trying to use the Photoshop Sky selection tools.